Welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you from Central Europe. I hope everybody has had a good week so far. Looking forward to a safe and relaxing weekend. This is a members chat class for IELTS Speaking Part 2. Of course, everybody is welcome to watch. I will host an all chat class coming up in 90 minutes focusing on task to writing. Hi, Awaz. I'm feeling good, thank you. I hope everybody else is feeling in good health also. While we wait for some more of your fellow members, Awaz, this lesson is presented to you by aehelp.com for academic IELTS success. Check us out there, join our premium package, get the right materials to get a high band score. For general IELTS, check us out at gieltshelp.com, where the writing and reading sections focus on strategies, examples, tips for the general exam. This is the academic version of our website here with the blue background. You can click that large red button to join our premium package, get access to our 100 hours of video lessons, fully interactive course, and original exams. This is our general website here with the green background. Click that big red button to join us there and start your journey for better communication and better band scores. You can, of course, download and link your apps, Academic IELTS Help and General IELTS Help, to the respective websites. Hi, Tito. I haven't checked out the Prime Minister's news in England, but we are getting some new news here in Hungary as well. There's a restriction on going out of the house, and a lot of other places that were open are now closed as well. So the situation is evolving. Students, if you have questions about the exam or our product, send me an email, adrian@aehelp.com. Good job to a lot of our members who sent the end of yesterday's task 1 essay. That was great. It was nice to see that. So good for you. You know who you are. Students, if you want to get our exams in hard copy, you can do that from Amazon, especially AE Helps Academic IELTS. We use these exams for these live classes. If you're a general IELTS student, get the GE Helps General IELTS from Amazon. All right. Students, today, speaking part 2, followed by task 2. Tomorrow, Q&A session for members. So members, tomorrow Q&A session for you. Make sure to think of your answers. Bring them to tomorrow's class, and I will gladly answer those. And again, speaking part 3, practice and exercise for everybody as well. All right. Let's get into today's lesson for speaking part 2, the cue card. So again, this is speaking, so make sure to speak and repeat as much as possible. When you hear new vocabulary, write it down for future learning. And we have a good number of members, so let's get into it. All right, our first step, of course, is to read the question carefully. Hopefully this is clear and the font is big enough. If it's not, let me know. Okay. All right, so part 2, let's read it. Talk about a situation outside of your control that had a significant impact on your life. Okay, and as I've said many times before, when you get that cue card in part 2 of your speaking interview, read that first topic sentence twice. Okay, so let's read this one more time. Talk about a situation outside of your control that had a significant impact on your life. Okay, all right. Now let's look at the remaining questions on the card. You should say, when did it happen? What was the uncontrollable situation? How did it affect your life? What did you do to manage your circumstances? All right, so that's our question that we're dealing with today. What's my next step? Okay, what do I need to do here? What's my step number 2? after I've read the questions carefully on the card, reading the topic sentence twice. So what's my second step? Step 2. Step 2, what do I do? Awaz says you should identify the topic of the question. Absolutely. So identify the topic and controlling ideas, yeah. And in this case, what is our topic, members? What are we talking about here? Yeah, Roshni, very good. Roshni says identify the tense as well. Very, very clever. Very clever, Roshni. Also, identify the tense of the question. Yeah, I know that many of you have heard about the PPF strategy, which is past, present, future. But again, you can only do that, or that only will get you a good mark, if the question asks for information about the past, present, and future. If it doesn't, if it asks mostly about the past, then you have to focus on the past, right? Okay, so Charlie Sen says this is a situation, it's an incident. Bhumi says it's an uncontrolled situation. Yeah, so the topic is an uncontrolled situation in your life. Okay, so it's really important. The full topic here is an uncontrolled situation in your life. Exactly, Rajveer. Very nice. Rajveer has the most complete topic here. Rajveer says it's an uncontrolled situation which impacted my life. Very nice, Rajveer. Good job. All right. And what's the tense? So what is the tense in this case? So I'll bring back the question a little bit here. So what tense are you focusing on in your 2-minute speech? Is it past, present, future, all of them? Or is it just the present and the future? Is it the future? Or is it mostly the past? Yeah, very nice. Okay, good. Awaz, Rajveer, Charlie, very nice. It's past. Abhishek, it's the past, okay? We know that from the word had, right? So talk about a situation outside of your control that had a significant impact on your life. So this is something that you've already experienced. Very nice. Okay, so past because of had. All right, and then of course, as most of you know, the next step is to identify whether it's whether it's a person, place, object, event, or idea. In this case, we realize, of course, that we're talking about an event, right? And when we talk about an event, what should we include? Yeah, very nice. Okay, so Abhishek, Bhumi, Rajveer say it's an event. This is mostly focusing on an event. And in case of an event, what are the important components that we have to keep in mind as we're coming up with our ideas? Yeah, so Awaz says the time of the event, so when it happened, right? And you can see that usually these are synonymous with the follow-up questions. So when did it happen? That's the time. It's asking you about that, right? So instead of questions, try to use statements. So instead of saying when, use the word time. So time, instead of where, use the word location, okay? These words will help you in your response already. So the time that this happened was, the location where it took place was. So it's better to think about these statement words rather than the question words. I know sometimes I make that mistake too, but it's better to think of the statements. So time, location, people, okay, activities, yeah, and experience. Experience is your experience, so how it affected you, okay, how it affected you. Hi, Mahesh. Welcome to the class. All right, so step 4. what do I do next? So far so good. I've figured out my topic, my tense. I've figured out it's an event. I cataloged the components that I need to cover in my response. And now, what do I do? So I'm still in my 1 minute preparation time, and so far I've invested about 15 seconds to get to this point. What's my next really important step here? Yeah, so Abhishek says, think about 2 or 3 ideas that you can use here. Sure. So think of 2 to 3 good ideas that are easy to talk about and original. Okay? So hopefully something that not everybody is talking about. So give me some ideas here, students. So what could be an event that's outside of your control, which had an impact on your life that you had to mitigate? Mitigate means deal with. So what is an event outside of your control that you had to mitigate? Now, Tito, I knew somebody was going to say corona pandemic, but the reason why that would not work today is because it's still happening, okay? So the corona pandemic is more present tense. It's having an effect on our lives, and we're dealing with it. This was kind of the trick in the question, Tito. It's past tense, so the corona pandemic is not the best way to go about it, but that might give you another idea, Tito, that could be effective. So Rajveer says a natural disaster like an earthquake. Wow, yeah, that would be definitely something which would impact life. Losing a bet, Pavan, I saw you took that back because that's something that you kind of control, right? And you made the bet, so losing the bet, it's somewhat in your control. Charlie Sen says first hostile experience. Okay, could be Charlie, maybe. Pollution, Abhishek, could be a little bit difficult to talk about. Okay. Boomy, very nice. So delayed plane, delayed flight. Yeah, that could be a good one. Absolutely. Any other ones? Yeah, Boomy, very good. Being sick, so catching a flu or getting some kind of an illness, breaking a leg, right? So catching the flu. So that's what I was thinking, Tito, is if you think corona pandemic, but then you go, okay, wait a second, that's present tense, so I have to go a little bit into the past here. Catching the flu could be a good one, okay? Roshni says increasing financial burden. I'm not sure about that, Roshni, but maybe a recession could be, okay? So if suddenly money loses value, that's outside of your control. That would be a recession, okay? All right. So far, you've given me some really good ideas here with these ones. I think one that could come up as well is losing one's job. So losing job, okay? Not because you got fired, but maybe because the job is no longer required in the company, or the company is no longer able to afford you as their employee. So Rajveer says firing from job. Students, just a side note here. If you get fired from your job, it means that you did something bad, so they fired you. Okay, this is just a side note here. So fired from job means worker made a big mistake, so they got fired. If you didn't do anything wrong, but the company doesn't have enough money or the job is no longer needed, what do English speakers use in that case? So what do you use in English when you don't make a mistake, you're not fired, but you lose your job? What is the expression, or what is the correct term for losing your job when it's not because of your mistake or wrongdoing? Anybody know that one? It's a little pop quiz question here. It's a good one to know. Let's see if one of you come up with it. It's, yeah, Rajveer, close. Not laid down, but laid off from work. Okay. Right, so you get laid off. It's not downsize. Tito, downsizing is part of that, but it's a little bit different from what I'm asking here. The phrasal verb that we use is laid off. If you're laid off from work, it usually means it's because something is with the company or some other reason. Okay, so laid off. Good. All right, so nice. A lot of good ideas. What I'm really happy about here, members, is how quickly many of you came up with good ideas. So your hard work is paying off. Practicing day after day, going through these steps for the Part 2 cue card is paying off. You're coming up with some really good ideas very, very quickly. And that is exactly what will lead to those nice high band scores and good communication in these situations. So give yourself a pat on the back. You deserve it. Nicely done. It was much faster today than previous classes. Okay, so here we go, students. Let's pick one. Again, as usual, I'm going to just number these and just take a vote, and then we'll see how everybody feels and go from there. So earthquake 1, delayed flight 2, catching the flu 3, recession 4, losing your job 5. Let's go from those. Pick the ones that you feel, or pick the one that you feel you would choose in this case. So earthquake, delayed flight, catching the flu, recession, or losing the job. I think there's a few good choices there today. So Abhishek says number 1, earthquake. Rajveer agrees. Charlie says 5. Pavan says 5. Elena 4. 5 seems to be a pretty popular choice. Yeah, I think the better choices here would be delayed flight and losing the job. I think a lot of people might choose catching the flu, especially these days, with a lot of talk of illness. But catching the flu could be a good one as well. It might be a little bit more tricky to talk about. Recession, it's not a bad choice, but definitely you can get into a more challenging situation to explain economics clearly in English. I mean, I know that talking economics in English is challenging even for me, so that could be difficult. Earthquake is so unique that it's again a little bit tricky. It's kind of like recession. So number 5, losing the job. I think that's a fantastic choice for today. Let's go with that one. And of course, the next step here is to create some usable notes. Okay, so I'm moving through some of the steps now a little bit faster that you're quite familiar with from past classes. So let's go with losing job, getting laid off. Okay, we can use that new vocabulary as well as we do this one. So losing job. And the next step, of course, is create some useful notes. Okay, fantastic. Let's do this nice and quick. So members, give me some usable notes. Okay, Rajveer says accountant. Give me the name of the company, Rajveer. So before we get our first sentence ready, Roshni, let's get some notes in here, okay? Charlie says losing the job as a typewriter. Yeah, so the specific job, so accountant at Sun Financial, right? Okay. Give me some useful notes. When you're writing your notes, members, remember, don't just jump around all over the place, but try to follow the logic of the event, right? So time, location, people, activities, experience, while keeping in mind the questions on the card. So start with time, right? Start your notes with time, because then you can go through your notes in a linear fashion, and that's quite important. Okay, so 6 months ago on a Friday. Okay. Sure. Okay, so Rajveer says January. Charlie says 2 years ago. Yeah, okay, so you start to think of the time. And maybe when you're thinking of time, you can think about a couple of ideas that are connected to that time, right? So before summer. Okay, so elements that make it maybe difficult to find a job at that time. Or maybe at that time you just had a baby born in the family and you needed more money, giving some extra difficulty to the situation. Okay, all right. So, accountant at Sun Financial, and you're coming up with good ideas. All of you are being original. That's fantastic. Let's try to synchronize. So, let's try to bring our ideas together a bit. So, losing job 6 months ago on a Friday before summer, accountant at Sun Financial. Okay, Pavan, consecutively reporting late, that would be something that you have control over. Okay, so make sure that you keep the idea of the card in your mind. Okay, that means this should be a situation that you couldn't control. All right, so we have time. Location, we might add a little bit more. Okay, so we might say head office in Vancouver. Okay, so think of those elements of event, time, location, people. Okay, so think about people. And I saw somebody write, Roshni wrote 300 people. Let go. Now, Tito, you can say downsizing. Financial trouble. Okay, sure. All right, Rajveer says paid 2 months' salary. Good. When you're writing your notes, students, in the 1 minute, at home before the exam, really practice writing shorthand. So I'm writing a little bit longhand here, or in long, but you can notice that I'm using some abbreviations like 6MO, 2MO, and you can even shorten up some of these other words as well. Okay, so let's do that as well. All right, so 2 months salary. Okay, and when you're doing your notes, don't forget about the card. Okay, so it's good to keep those elements in mind. How did it affect your life? So give me a couple of notes on how did it affect your life. Okay, couple quick notes. So here what you're doing is you're keeping the elements in mind and you're looking at the card. All right, so what was the effect that losing your job had on your life? Give me a couple of quick ideas. Bankrupt, maybe a little bit extreme, okay, but financial squeeze. All right. Charlie says depressed. You don't need to say mentally, just depressed is enough. Stress. Limit spending. Okay, what else? So obviously with money, unable to earn bread and butter, Elena. That's good, but Elena, in your notes, you want to keep it simpler, right? You only have about 30, 40 seconds. So difficulty paying bills, okay? Good. And of course, what else are you doing? So let's move from money. You're probably searching for a job. Okay. That might actually come with the next one, right? What did you do to manage your circumstances? So give me a couple of notes for what did you do to manage your circumstances. I think searching for work, that would be a better one for that. Okay. Abhishek says saving or cut spending. Okay. Saving. All right. Thrifty is another word that I'm going to teach you here. When you're being thrifty, it means you're paying more careful attention to your spending. Okay. Elena, I like it. Further training. Anybody an accountant? Does anybody know what kind of further training accountants get when they want to increase their abilities to become more employable? There's a couple of very standard accounting certificates internationally that are accepted. Roshni, very nice. Roshni honestly saying, nope, I don't know what kind of training accountants get. It's called something like CFA or CFB or something like that. Certified Financial Accountant, level 1, level 2, level 3. Those are the international. Okay, anyway. So if you don't know, that's fine. All right, maybe certified. Just come up with it. Investing and stockbroker. I don't know. Just come up with a couple that are connected to money. Okay. The IELTS is not going to judge you. I believe it's CFA. CFA, Certified Financial Accountant. CFA certification. And I think it's 3 levels. Level 1, 2, and 3. All right. Okay, we're doing good. So now, students, the next step before we begin, of course, is get your first sentence ready. So step, I think it's 5, get your first sentence ready. Bam, bam, bam. It's really important. So give me your first sentence. So when the IELTS examiner says, okay, your 1 minute preparation time is up, please begin speaking. As soon as they finish the word speaking, then 1 second after, you can say, well, a really difficult circumstance that was out of my control happened just, okay? Yeah, Charlie Sen says it's CA, Chartered Accountant. Perhaps, Charlie. Yeah, there's a few different ones. I think you might be right. CA1, CA2, or CBA1, CBA2, something like that as well. Anyway, let's move on from that. All right, so get your first sentence ready. Okay, and please, members, don't start with, well, I've had many difficult situations in my life, but one that I really remember. No, it's fine. I'm sure you had many difficult, challenging situations. Most of us do. Here, I would like to learn about one situation that was out of your control. Okay. Rajveer says, an extremely uncontrolled situation which impacted my life is when I was laid off from my accounting job. I think it's accounting is the right adjective there because accountant is the person, Rajveer. So otherwise, Rajveer, that's a brilliant sentence. So Rajveer says, let's start with that. An extremely uncontrolled situation which impacted my life is when I was laid off from my accounting job. Rajveer, that's a band 9 start. It reflects the question very accurately. You're using an adjective clause and you're using a complex sentence with when. So for all of those elements, it's very nice. Boomy says, an event which was out of my control happened 6 months ago, being laid off from my accounting position. Yeah, very close to Rajveer, Boomy. I like it. It's great. All right, I'm feeling much more confident as an IELTS trainer. Seeing these nice first sentences gives me confidence that you're going to do well on that exam. Okay, so I'll just take one of those. I think both of those are really good. Okay, so, and extreme, I'm going to leave the word extremely, Rajveer. An uncontrollable event that impacted my life is when I was laid off from my accounting job. All right, good, nice job. Elena says, the challenging situation which I faced a few years ago was when I was fired from my coding job. Okay, again, Elena, not the word fired in this case. Here, word choice is especially important because when you're fired from your work, you kind of had control over that situation. So you made a mistake, most likely, which led to you being fired. Laid off will reflect the nature of this question much more accurately, Elena, which means that it was not in your control. Okay. Charlie says the most difficult, uncontrolled situation that I faced 6 months ago is when I was laid off from my job as an accountant at Sun Financial. Period. Yeah, very nice, Charlie. Lots of information there. The more information that you can pack into the 2 minutes, of course, you will get a higher mark simply because you're using more lexical resource, you're giving more information, you're probably using more complex grammar as well. But do be careful because if you're packing a lot of information into each of your sentences, it's easier to make mistakes and be incomprehensible. So be really careful, okay? Roshni says, well, a situation 6 months ago before, I was laid off from my accounting job, which affected my life immensely. Roshni, instead of the word intensely, use the word immensely, like enormously. Okay. Pavan, I wasn't so unfortunate as before when I was laid off from my accounting job 6 months ago. Accountant job is acceptable. Accounting job is better. Okay, so accountant job is acceptable. Accounting job is better. All right, good. So now using your notes and your ideas, please continue from my sentence here. So what would be a good sentence to continue here with? Give me some ideas. Okay. Rajveer says, it happened 6 months ago during last summer when I was working with Sun Financial. Okay. This happened 6 months ago during summer. Working at Sun Financial head office in Vancouver. All right. Now, give me some more information. So what could be good here? What I would do, okay, is I would visualize this and at the same time, always work hard, students, to put yourself into the mind of your listener, in this case, your examiner. So what kind of information is important to consider if you are the listener? And we haven't talked about this much yet, but I'm going to emphasize this for you now, okay? So this is strategy. Always practice good visualization, especially when you're making up the information. And students, in many cases, you do have to make up the information for part 2 because it's really difficult to actually come up with an appropriate real life situation so quickly. It's almost easier when you practice to come up with imagined situations. Okay? So always practice good visualization and think from the position of your audience. In this case, the examiner. Okay, so think what would be important information for the examiner to learn for my communication to make sense. Okay, so I see that a couple of you are already answering that question. Rajveer says, what led to this situation? So what created the situation of being laid off? Yeah, I agree. Okay, sure. If I'm thinking about the examiner here of my audience, and I want them to understand how difficult it was for me to lose this job. What would be something smart to include? What do you think? I wonder if anybody will come up with a similar thought as what I have in my head. And this is not in the notes, so we haven't discussed this yet. Let's see if anybody is in line with my own logic or with my own visualization. And thinking of this, you'll actually be able to use some nice past perfect as well. Yeah, very good, Rajveer. There you go. So, yeah, there you go. Anybody else had the same idea as Rajveer, except for me? So the importance of this job, right? So a sentence like, I had been working as a junior accountant at Sun Financial for over 2 years, and my monthly salary was $4,200. All right. So give a little bit of context, right? If you want to help me to understand what it meant for you to lose this job, maybe tell me a little bit about the importance of this job, especially as Rajveer said. So how much of your life depended on it? If you're making, let's say, $4,200 a month and you've built your life around that salary, then of course that creates that level of challenge when you suddenly lose access to that money. You see where this idea becomes important for the next pieces of information? It creates a lot of clarity for your listener at that point. Okay? And then I would go on to mention what Abhishek is saying. So along with 300 people, along with me, 300 people were laid off. Nevertheless, along with me, 300 employees lost their jobs this past summer. All right. Yeah, Rajveer, exactly. So you're basically synonymous with me. Yeah, Tito, very good. Okay, so Tito says, so not only myself, but also my family relied mostly on this income as I'm the sole breadwinner in the home. Yeah, very good. There you go, Tito. Nicely done. So now let's go over what we have so far, and then we can build from here. So again, speak and repeat, okay? An uncontrollable event that impacted my life is when I was laid off from my accounting job. This happened 6 months ago during summer, working at Sun Financial head office in Vancouver. I had been working as a junior accountant at Sun Financial for over 2 years, and my monthly salary was around $4,200. Not only myself, but also my family relied mostly on this income as I'm the sole breadwinner in the home. Nevertheless, along with me, 300 employees lost their jobs this past summer. Okay. Breadwinner is not an idiom, Roshni. Breadwinner is an actual word, which means that you are the person who earns the money needed to pay for those sustenance needs like food and shelter. So that's what a breadwinner means. Breadwinner is the person who works to make money for food and other necessities. Okay? Yeah, Elena, very good. Nice. I like, Elena, how you pick up these words and then you immediately put them into practice. For everybody, take that strategy from Elena. That's really good when studying languages, is as soon as you hear new words and new ideas, as we just discussed, immediately put them into a sentence. So good job, Elena. It doesn't bother me at all if any of you rewrite what I wrote on the board, because I can see with my eye very quickly that you're just practicing using that content right away. So it's a good idea to do that. Okay, it's a very good idea to do that. So follow Elena's lead with that. Okay, all right. Let's keep going. So give me some more sentences. So far, so good. We're doing a good job. Give me more information. Give me more information. What follows? Check your notes. Okay. So 2 months salary, financial challenge, depressed, stress, spending, limiting spending, searching for work. Use this information here and give me some sentences. Okay. So Rajveer says, fortunately, the company was able to provide 2 months of severance pay. And I believe this would be contracted like that. Okay. Another nice piece of new vocabulary for you. Thank you, Rajveer. It's severance pay. Okay. Severance pay is when you get laid off, but to try to help people balance the challenges afterwards, you get what's called severance pay. Severance pay. Okay. All right, more sentences. Give me the sentences, students, as many as possible. Okay, I'm going to keep writing a little bit here as well. Okay. Of course, the summer time can be a difficult season to find work, as most jobs are available in spring. This created a fair bit of stress for me, and I became somewhat depressed. Without any income available, my family had to make some difficult decisions to cut back spending, such as canceling our planned trip to Disneyland. Also, we needed to sell some of our assets, like my motorbike. Okay, I'm just visualizing this and thinking of what people would do. Okay, and you can do this even in English as long as you practice. Okay. So Elena says, for the first few days, I just couldn't get any ideas of how to overcome the situation, even though my company provided me with 2 months of severance pay. So I got depressed. Good, Elena. Rajveer says, the situation was very challenging, as summertime is really difficult to find jobs, as most jobs are available during the winter. Okay, Rajveer, yeah. In Vancouver, Victoria, it's usually the springtime, but different places, right? Summer's definitely challenging. Most jobs are filled by summer. Bhumi says, this loss created a big financial challenge for me and my family, which led to depression and stress and having to limit spending, Bhumi, and having to limit spending. Okay, good, nice. You're all coming up with some great ideas. All right. Immediately, I decided to look for work, but since the opportunities were so scarce, scarce means few, not many available. Okay, so I decided to look for work, but since the opportunities were so scarce, I chose to continue my my training and get certified as a level 3. You can make these up. Financial advisor. Okay. All right. Awaz says, after this, I felt stressed. I limited myself from expensive items. I became thrifty, and I canceled my plans to travel and vacation. Furthermore, the summertime is a bit complicated to find jobs as most positions are filled. Okay. Rajveer, I bore, not bear, it's past tense. So in this case, it's bore. I bore the brunt as I bought a new car just a month before, and I felt stressed as I couldn't, I had difficulty to pay the EMI without this job. Also, I had a bank loan on my house, maybe a mortgage, Tito. Okay, so take your visualization, Tito, one step further. Difficulty making mortgage payments on the house. Okay, now remember, spend a lot of time in your speaking part 2 for these last 2 questions especially. The examiners are really looking for going into depth and detail on how did it affect your life and what did you do to manage the circumstances. Okay. Luckily, I was able to turn to my brother for some financial help until eventually I earned my certification and found another job. In the end, my new job pays even better than my old one, so it all turned out for the best. All right, so I'm just wrapping it up. They're kind of bringing an end to it. But I can see that, you're doing a great job, members. You're really kind of thinking and going through and visualizing. Couple of tips, students. Don't get lost in too much detail. So don't get focused on too much detail and lose yourself. Make sure to keep the card in mind. You should look at the card once or twice while you're speaking. All right. Nicely done. Let's go over the question one more time. Read the answer. If you feel confident, try to speak without looking, without reading, okay? So talk about a situation outside of your control that had a significant impact on your life. You should say, when did it happen? What was the uncontrollable situation? How did it affect your life? What did you do to manage your circumstances? We did a great job in our preparation. We're ready with our first sentence. Here we go. An uncontrollable event that impacted my life is when I was laid off from my accounting job. This happened 6 months ago during summer, working at Sun Financial head office in Vancouver. I had been working as a junior accountant at Sun Financial for over 2 years, and my monthly salary was around $4,200. Not only myself, but also my family relied mostly on this income as I'm the sole breadwinner in the home. Nevertheless, along with me and 300 other employees, we lost our jobs this past summer. Fortunately, the company was able to provide 2 months of severance pay. Of course, the summertime can be a difficult season to find work as most jobs are available in spring. This created a fair bit of stress for me and I became somewhat depressed. Without any income available, my family had to make some difficult decisions to cut back spending, such as canceling our trip to Disneyland, buying cheaper bread and food, as well as not paying for vocational classes for our children. Also, we needed to sell some of our assets like my motorbike. And I loved my motorbike, so this made me feel even more down on myself. Immediately, I decided to look for work, but since the opportunities were so scarce, I chose to continue with some training and get certified as a level 3 financial advisor. Luckily, I was able to turn to my brother for some financial help also, and eventually I earned my certification and found another job. In the end, the new job pays even better than my old one, so it all turned out for the best. And your 2-minute speaking time is up. Pass back the card. And now we will continue with some questions related to the topic of part 3. Let's talk about difficult situations. Okay, so members, really nice. Practice this. And I challenge you to try the same question with one of these other great ideas that you had: a delayed flight, catching the flu, and if you really want to challenge yourself, go for an earthquake or recession. Okay? All right. Great job, everyone. Notice how because your English is becoming faster, your thinking, your fluency, even your typing, we're able to move through the lesson much more smoothly. That's great. I feel that many of you have improved by at least half a band to a band, if not more, for some of you. So that's great. I think a lot of you might be ready for your exam if you're going for that 7, but just make sure to speak and speak. So your verbal fluency, because I can't hear you, right? So your verbal fluency needs to improve. Of course, you can always send me an MP3 recording for a more accurate estimate. Okay. All right. For everybody who's watching, to get all of our great videos and tips and strategies and lots of lessons, join our premium package at aehelp.com. Do yourself a favor, spend a couple dollars, get some good learning materials. For general IELTS students, go to gieltshelp.com. Join us there. Coming up in 30 minutes, everyone, I will be back with a Task 2 writing class where everybody can join in on the chat. All right. Thanks for the feedback. Roshni, you're very welcome. Bhumi, you're absolutely welcome. Pavan, keep it up. Rajveer, I'm glad that you're taking value from those tips. You're most welcome, Elena Tito. Bye for now, everyone. Much love. Hopefully, I'll see you shortly.